Okay, good evening, everybody. The time is 5:32 and I call this work session to order. We're going to start off with our lobbyist, Mr. Romero, if you want to take it away.
All right, thank you very much, Madam President. We actually had a planning session on Friday and wanted to prioritize our time with you for these 15 minutes. We don't get that much time, but we want to make the most use of it. So I think these planning sessions on Friday will help us at least reduce the scope of what you're going to look at and gives us an opportunity to help prioritize some bills that we'd like you to take positions on. Let me just start by saying that we are starting to see the big bills coming out. The first bill that I wanted to talk to you about is Senate Bill 213. It's the land use bill, and I could describe it to you, but I think the best description was made by one of the mayors from a Front Range city, saying that this bill and a number of bills this session are the most significant attempt at reducing the power of municipal government and local government for the last 2 decades. So that's just how significant the challenges are for local government right now in terms of the state wanting to exercise more power over the things that have always been the prerogative of municipalities. So Senate Bill 213 is the land use bill. It's a pretty significant piece of legislation. Obviously, the governor supports it. It's sponsored by the majority leader in the Senate, Senator Moreno from Adams County. This bill is the most sweeping preemption of local land use and zoning authority in the state's history, and a major priority for the governor. The bill is over 100 pages long in general, and we've done talking points. And if we haven't sent the talking points, we'll get a more annotated version if you don't want to read the 100 pages. The governor wants the flexibility to upzone in urban areas to allow for new capacity and development and reduce sprawl. Overall, the bill will prevent municipalities from limiting construction of accessory dwelling units, duplexes, triplexes, and require them to let multifamily units be built near transit centers. For these developments, municipalities would be prohibited from requiring parking tied to that specific development, leaving it up to the developer as to what parking may be needed. Those are just some of the components of this bill that reduce the scope of municipalities. We hope that you'll take a look at that. If you need more material, if you need more references, we're happy to provide those, either resources and sources that we have, or we'll also get that information from the Colorado Municipal League. The one bill, so that's Senate Bill 213. The second bill that I wanted to talk to you about, and I got a specific request from the Colorado Municipal League, and I talked to Councilor Atencio and the mayor about this particular bill, and it's Senate Bill 111. It's the Public Employees Workplace Protection. CML opposes this bill. Based upon our conversations with the mayor and Councilor Atencio, I think the biggest issue for Pueblo would be that this actually would take power away from the unions, as explained to me by both of them, that currently all of municipal employees are represented by unions. This bill specifies that public employees have the right to discuss or express views on workplace issues, and really lays out a number of rights that have to be adhered to, but these may actually be less than those provided by the union that represents Pueblo right now. And CML would really like Pueblo to take a position of opposition on this bill. The last bill that we've talked about for a couple of sessions with the city is 1169. This one continues to have significant problems, and we're almost to the point where we were wondering whether or not this will actually ever be heard, but that probably will. It probably will be reduced in scope, but there are just a significant number of problems that have been outlined. And I was part of a call where a number of law enforcement talked about petty offenses that were fairly significant, that that under this bill would not, the the city or municipality would not have the ability to take that person into custody. We'll continue to follow that one. The last thing that I wanted to bring to your attention, I know this is something that all of you are concerned about, is the air bill. I talked to Representative Bacon, and I've talked to a number of people that have had meetings with her, and she doesn't have any talking points. There is no draft of this bill yet, and we're really, starting to wonder whether or not there's so much pressure building on this bill that it may not be introduced. My sense is it will be introduced. We're waiting for it. We thought it was going to come last week, but it didn't. As I said, we maintain significant contact with David Kenny, who represents EBRAS, and as we get more information, we'll provide that to the city. So those are the updates. We also have a number of bills on the bill tracker for you. If there are any of those bills that you'd like for us to present on, both Alec and Ryan are here, but that's our report for this Monday.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Is there any questions for Mr. Romero? Councilor Atencio?
Yeah, Gil, that 1169, that low-level crime bill.
Yes.
The biggest problem with that is that it takes any discretion from the police officer whenever he makes contact with anyone. There are times where a police officer does not have to arrest, and there are times when he just gives a hard talk to a person and sends them on their way. So that's the biggest part. It takes any discretion that the police officer has, and we should have the discretion should be there. The police officer should have as much discretion as he would like in terms of how he deals with certain situations.
And if I may, Councilor Atencio, I think that's the consensus of law enforcement right now, is that, and they outlined a number. As a former prosecutor myself in Pueblo, I was actually surprised at the list of petty offenses that I thought were pretty significant. Now, under this bill, certain exemptions, including domestic violence, victims' right crimes, offenses involving impaired driving, traffic offenses, eluding a police officer, those are not, those are not included in this bill. But there's still a number of instances, as you said, Councilor Atencio, where a police officer in most cases probably wouldn't arrest the person, but there may be cases where the person is belligerent. And in one case, I can't remember, it had to do with demonstrations. If the person won't get out of the street, if they say, I'm not getting out of the street, I'm going to stay here, under this bill, there's nothing that the police officer could do. They would have to just, restrain him, but not arrest him. So as I said, that bill has been delayed and delayed and delayed because of, the sponsor, who is also the sponsor, we think, of the air bill, for her to try to carve out more exceptions, or potentially maybe just withdraw this bill. So we'll continue to monitor that.
Councilor Maestri, did you have something? Oh, no. Councilor Warner, did you have something?
No, thanks.
Okay. No other comments or questions for Mr. Councilor Atencio?
Yeah, Gil, just keep an eye on that economic development county revitalization bill. The campaign practices for municipal elections. I think that's kind of important for us. The open records bill and the regulated substances.
Yeah, all four of them are on your tracker. As I said, we'll probably circle back next Monday on those, because I wanted to talk to you about a couple of those bills. The county one is really one that I think is another one that under sheep's clothing, it really does sort of change the dynamics. Even though there are protections for the city in terms of urban renewal areas and downtown renewal, I still think there are concerns about it. And as I explained last Monday on the call that we were on, the stakeholder call, Colorado Municipal League legal counsel was on it and really outlined some of their biggest concerns. We can bring that one back up with a little bit more detail. If we get any more information from CML, we'll bring it to.
Yeah, that'll be good, because what I see in that is an equity issue in that urban renewal project areas. Urban renewal has to jump through all kinds of hoops, talk to every taxing agency and get their input, and they're okay with this county revitalization bill. Basically, it's the same thing. They're calling it something different, but they don't have to do anything. They just do it. You know, so,
I'm sorry.
what's good for the goose is good for the gander type thing. If urban renewal has to, if the city has to jump through those kind of hoops, then maybe the county should have to do the same thing.
Yeah, I think the other issue, Councilor Atencio, is that this bill is being introduced midway through the session. It's being brought forth by one county, Adams County.
Yeah.
They want to move forward. And I think, my 14 years in the legislature, these kinds of big changes, big scope changes, you work on over the course of the fall, and you bring in a bunch of stakeholders. And I think that's the biggest concern, is that, this bill really ought to be, tabled for right now and let a lot of other people speak to it. And we'll see what happens. I know that CML, again, these are, as I've explained to you before, we have all of these on our Secretary of State as monitor until you all take positions on them. If you take a position to support or oppose, then we report that to the Secretary of State. And then depending on the level of advocacy you want us, especially on that one bill that I spoke about, the Public Employees Workplace Protection, then we would work with CML to try to kill that bill in committee. So, let us know if there's any more information you need, or if you decide to take positions, then we'll get that information and we'll post it, and then decide how much effort you want to put forth on those bills.
Okay, if there's no further questions for Mr. Romero, thank you. We will see you next week.
Okay, thank you, Madam President.
Moving on to city updates from Ms. Solano.
Thank you, Madam President, City Council, and Mayor Gratis. I just have a couple this evening. And the first, of course, is the the COVID update with 77.9 cases for the past cumulative week of positivity, and the rate of 1.1, which is hanging around the same 8% here for the last several weeks. But the Pueblo County days of stabilized hospitalizations due to COVID has increased to 10. So that's good. It was at 7 last Monday. And I'm happy to report that the team to organize the spring 2023 Team Up to Cleanup citywide trash dumping day. The date has been set for Saturday, May the 6th, only at the Colorado State Fair. And they'll move forward, and I should have more details soon with respect to the times of the day and the entry gates and the exit gates. And also they will be developing the marketing campaign and awareness to get it out to the city residents. But in working at the days in May that were available, that seemed to be the best day for everybody. So Saturday, May the 6th, citywide Team Up to Clean Up. And the last update that I have for the evening is an update on the ball field. Parks and Rec's been looking to speak with a personal services individual who can take the first look at communicating within the softball field community, and also hosting several of the community stakeholder groups. And so that should be moving forward relatively quickly. And that concludes the updates. Available for questions or comments or direction.
Good, glad to hear it. Have him contact me. That way we can both set up community meetings to talk
We'll
to the
do.
community. Thank
Excited about that?
you. Excited.
Okay. Anybody else have questions for Ms. Solano? Counselor?
The status of Crazy Faith's proposal.
The Crazy Faith proposal went from the ARPA team internally to Dan last week for review for compliance. So he'll be coming forward with what the next steps are.
And what about Crossroads? Will they be?
The Crossroads subrecipient agreement, the city attorney has already sent to Charlie Davis for his look and pre-review. If all goes well, as on both sides, it'll be scheduled for first reading on April the 10th, and for any questions, and then second reading on April 24th.
Thank you.
Counselor Martinez?
Thank you. So For the lost my train of thought now. Yeah, for the cleanup. Last year it was fantastic because each person that came through the line got a very cool energy efficiency kit from Black Hills. And I'm wondering if we can have that same conversation this year because it was fantastic last year and I heard a lot of really great feedback. So I'd like to have that conversation again this year.
We'll pass that on staff wheel to Black Hills Energy and to Julie Rodriguez. Thank you.
Where and when is this going to be done?
It's Saturday, May the 6th at the Colorado State Fairgrounds.
Anybody else? I had a question. Are we not doing the Pueblo Classic this year, the bike race?
Is that happening this year? It is not. There was a change in scheduling with the Rocky Mountain Collegiate Bicycling Association, so the organizers did not organize that this year.
I got some questions. I was wondering if that was a thing or not this year. Okay, that will conclude our city updates. And our first ARPA presentation is from Cooperative Care Center Mobile Showers. You guys want to head up to the podium?
An executive director at Pueblo Cooperative Care, and with me I have Wayne Brown. He's the manager of our mobile shower program. I want to begin by saying thank you to the members of City Council and to Mayor Gratishar and his chief of staff in particular for taking time to hear our appeal a little while back. We appreciate it very much. The mobile shower program was a concept back in 2019, and we developed it into a program in the fourth quarter of 2019. And I don't need to burden you with all of those statistics, but the benefits are listed. It's a recognition of personal value in those we serve, health and hygiene improvements that meet the needs within the entire community, help support those who are without a home to improve their quality of life, and a commitment to instill a sense of value in the individuals we serve. The program was well funded, of which the city of Pueblo was one of the primary funders. And we're very grateful for the partnership that we have with the city, not only with the mobile shower program, but in other programs as well. Prior to the COVID pandemic, we served in the area of 25 to 35,000 services per year. When COVID hit, we lost 135 to 140 of our volunteer corps. And as an emergency crisis center, we had to stay open, which we did. And we provided over 64,000 services in 2020. The mobile shower program was just one of the services impacted by COVID. We did shelter the program at the onset of the pandemic, and we have since brought it out. Wayne will give you a little more details on that. I just want to say I'd be happy to meet with any of you individually to go over the numbers supporting our request. We're very grateful. We're humbled by the city, and we're very thankful for the partnership that we have. The expenses for the mobile shower program last year alone came in just over $190,000. And that sounds overwhelming. But I want to reduce that a little bit and let you know that our community supports this program immensely. 147,000 are in-kind expenses that we receive support from businesses and individuals in our community. That still puts us in a kind of a dark place. And so this funding, if we're granted the funding that is going to be presented to you this evening, it will make an impact. And with this funding, we hope to increase the services in the community. As I expressed to Mayor Gratishar, we're so grateful for the partnership we have with Parks and Recreation because they have been likely our strongest partner in the sense that we have a central location with Mineral Palace Park that the homeless know and recognize, and they're able to get there. and take advantage of the shower programs. And before I turn this over to Wayne, let me just say, we're very thankful also for our one of our founding churches, First United Methodist Church, allows us to continue the mobile shower program year round at a time when in the winter months, we experimented with sheltering the shower during bad weather days and bringing it out on good weather days, but it just became very cost prohibitive to go through all the winterization with that. And the partnership with First United Methodist Church allows this program to work year round. And Wayne will provide you with additional details on that. So in my closing, prior to my introduction to Wayne, I just want to thank each of you. And Mr. Mayor, thank you and your Deputy Chief of Staff for the time and the support that you've given Cooperative Care for many, many years. Thank you. Wayne?
Hi, nice to meet everybody. Here is where the picture starts off here as we're reopening at the end of April at First Presbyterian Church. As Corey's talked about, our favorite location is right here at Mineral Palace Park. That's where we have our biggest draw. The clients are comfortable. We have lots of organizations coming on site that are helping us out. Just a couple of things. We do have a lift for the handicapped so we can get them in, and some grateful clients and stuff there. Here's another popular area that we like to get back to, and that's 40th and Dillon. So we know that area by the river is very popular. This here is what's behind the scenes. We are faith-based. We do talk about Jesus Christ. Our goal, my goal is we want to clean the outside, but we definitely want God to clean the inside. Volunteers that started out in 2021, and I still have about 6 of them. They're going on their 2nd year with me. I can't do this without volunteers. These guys are awesome. Here's an interesting one. We're actually in Colorado City because the county, part of their requirements was that we be on call for any emergency. And Colorado City's water plant went down in July. And so we were up there 4 days showering people. That was lots of fun. Vineland Methodist Church, we've been on site. We get volunteers that come in to help co-op, but they don't have showers. So we show up and help them out. I like this picture. First of all, I love my community and I love my country. So as we see the flag, special guests. Well, we don't refuse anybody there. We got the geese and everybody showing. Soup Kitchen, always a big draw. They're great big supporters with us. And we've been out there at least every week, averaging about 50. Again, we're talking about 2021, where we, at the height, we were out 3 days a week, but because of the lack of funds, we're down to 1 day a week. Health Solutions, we partner with Health Solutions quite a bit because they come alongside, do vaccines, we hook up with them, and they're a big supporter of our program also. Here at City Park, we celebrated 1,000 showers in September, and we had multiple organizations come alongside and help distribute things. We had students from District 60, we had people filling out, helping with Medicare, we have other people at SNAP program, trying to get other resources in their hands. Sam's Tacos, or pork chop lady, supplying all the food and stuff. That was a great big day. I don't know if Corey mentioned, we did 2,221 showers that year. And again, with First United Methodist Church. That's what I saw the first time when I first came in and said that somebody was telling me, hey, take a look at this. I had all the plans to tell the information to somebody else, but I fell in love with this program. I see so much changes all the time with what's going on. And this is what it's all about right here. This before and after we see all the time. This makes me cry. It does. If I take a minute, I want to read something that the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development put out. They said, oftentimes we think of the homeless population, shelter and food are the most important needs that come to mind. But we also know that the lack of access to basic hygiene practices, like the ability to take a shower, can have an immense impact on a person. In fact, experts recognize that this lack of access to showers can directly compromise the sense of dignity of a person living on the streets, limiting their ability to feel part of a community and playing a pivotal role in being ignored or even rejected by society. A shower can help people feel like themselves again, can restore dignity, renew confidence, and empower people living on the streets to engage with their communities. And they seek the services that they deserve. Homelessness, as we know, is a complex issue, one that requires investments in prevention, housing, and reintegration, along with resiliency services. showers won't solve homelessness, but they can be a first step toward restoring hope, dignity, and a sense of possibility. And like I said before, we're seeing this all the time, the before, the after. It opens up a lot of doors. Right now, we have a lot of people partnering with us on site. Kathy Klein, for instance, offering housing services through Posada. We do have Crossroads and other programs for the drug and addictions. We have Courts Health Solutions. Starting May 1st, we have a doctor coming on board with called Care to Share or Care on Location, and they'll have a staff to help with the physical needs. We have a number of people on site offering spiritual and other types of counseling. And of course, we have Pueblo Cooperative Care, where we give out clothes that help with interviews. We have phones available, IDs, and much, much more. Basically, I don't have time to talk about all the other organizations that are behind the scenes. Some are taking care of our trailer expense or storage or whatever, but it helps keep the costs down. Laundry is a big one. We got some people helping with our laundry. And the big thing is that I personally believe this is a very valuable asset, not only for the homeless, but I think for Pueblo as a whole community as a whole. So there it is, rapid fire, just to see what this is all about. And if you have any questions or comments, we're glad to hear it.
Thank you both for your presentation.
I would like to add one comment. I'm sorry to interrupt. One of the most important things that we discovered with this program is the conceptual precognition of what homeless is. We see substantially more than the stereotypical homeless individual. Wayne comes to our office after a hard day of work and tells us that we had families, children, young children, high school students. So this service is of tremendous value, and we're very, very thankful for all that you help us with. Thank you. Any questions?
Counselor Flores?
Yes, back in 2019, and you touched on it very briefly, within, I don't know whether it was within this trailer, do you have a laundry service in there still? Or is that's not part of the same?
I came on board in 2021, but that laundry service never did materialize. When I talk about laundry service, I have Capture the Vision and the Ascension Church are washing my towels. And this could actually run $400 or $500 a month.
I understand. Thank you.
Any other questions? Counselor Martinez?
Yeah, thank you for that presentation, and thanks for just providing that. I totally agree. It's a valuable service. And I know that I heard anecdotally that the trailer, when it was in operation, had some vandalism on it. So I'm curious if you've had any thoughts about preventing vandalism or how you're going to make sure that it's, that the service is impeccable.
We have experienced vandalism on multiple occasions. We've done what we can. We've looked at offsite storage. We worked with the city on getting the trailer out at the airport at one point. Right now, it's in a fairly good location, but there's never an assurance that it's going to be safe until we would have our own building or facility for that. That being said, the community again responded. Our out-of-pocket costs for restoration were, I won't say minimal, but greatly reduced by the community support because they recognize it. And this community support not only comes from other agencies and entities and individuals. I think in particular, Parkview and the hospital system, many of the local doctors are very, very grateful for the fact that the homeless can come to see them with better health and hygiene.
Counselor Maestri?
Last year, when you spent the 190,000, how many days a week were you being able to serve the community under that, with that amount of money?
Last year, we were operating 3 days per week. This year, we have gone down to 1 day per week, but we have expanded the hours of our operation. So that becomes widely known in the homeless community. So that is one reason we've seen the increase from 50 showers per day to 80 showers per day. And we have served a high number of individuals. I was interviewed this morning, and the number that we believe is close to accurate is just over 700 different individuals have utilized this service. not counting children.
Yeah, and so that's what you tracked last year was 700 individuals?
No, last year was, what do you have? 532, I believe is the number that we had. Okay.
520.
525, I'm sorry.
525. And we did 2,511 showers in 2022. Just give you an idea, this year, just First United Methodist Church, we've done 639. That includes 72 this morning.
Wow. Thank you.
What is your ask tonight, the dollar amount?
Well, I appreciate the question. The dollar amount requested from the mayor was $265,000, but that was across the board service support. The recommendation came back for $40,000 for the mobile shower program. We're very grateful for that. That will make an immense difference. So I believe what's on the agenda for you is $40,000.
And how many showers will you be able to increase your days, or what does that $40,000 look like?
The plan is to we're only doing one shower a week now. We've been doing that since June 1st. So the plan is to at least get to twice, but we're going to do one special event every month. We have the Homeless Memorial coming up. We have Convoy of Hope coming up. And we got a couple of churches that are already reaching out, Praise Assembly. We've done different events like at Sticker Park, different places in Bessemer. So minimally twice a week, so we can at least get back to the north side. And then other parts of town too. We'd like to get back into Bessemer as well.
The time frame on that is June until when do you shut it down?
We'll shut it down on the last week of October. And so the first week of November, we move back into the church.
So $40,000 would allow you to do 2 times a week from June until October.
It will allow us to increase, we believe, 2 times per week. We're hoping that we may be able to get up to 3. But there are many expenses that we have to look at. And so that is going to take some more intensive planning and preparation, but I'm pretty confident we're going to be able to reach that objective. The number of special events alone is very high. When you talk about the various activities for homelessness in our community, they're increasing, unfortunately. And so we want to make our presence known at those events. Public cooperative care is not centrally focused on the city of Pueblo. I have to go on record and say that. We serve all of Pueblo County, but we base the decisions on the mobile shower program specifically on need. And right now, the city of Pueblo has the highest need in the county. So we are not making any plans at this time to move to any outlying communities, but it could come depending on funding.
Councilor Maestri?
So you're doing all your budgeting and your statistics and so forth. What are you coming up with the cost per shower?
I don't have the exact cost per shower. That was a question that I was also asked this morning, and it's kind of difficult because we have to factor in the in-kind expenses. And with a number as high as 149,000, I don't have that for you today, and I apologize for that. I can get that to you, and I will get it to council and to the mayor and his chief of staff in the near future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And do you need direction on whether, and we need direction on whether we want to see this on our upcoming agenda? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, we'll see you in a couple weeks then. And maybe you can have a number for us for Councilor Maestri on per shower cost. Okay, great. Thank you so much, both of you. Okay, next up we have the broadband expansion grant.
right, this opportunity.
Yeah, you're not on.
That says, okay. So we're very happy to come here and tell you about our grant. Most of you know that we did receive the $3 million broadband grant award for CSU Pueblo and for the city of Pueblo. So it's a federal grant, National Telecommunications and Information Administration, part of the U.S. Department of Commerce. It's a Connecting Minority Communities program and part of the Biden infrastructure program. Before we talk about it, I just wanted to introduce our leadership team. I'm the program investigator, and then two city Pueblo, non-CSU Pueblo, but experts in the area of Pueblo and Denver, Salvador Acuna and Denise Shorey. So Sal is the strategy and project marketing consultant. He's the founder and CEO of Co-Create, and then Denise sitting next to me here, and will talk to you more about some of the additional things that will be allowed with this pilot program. But she's our telecommunications consultant in the grant. Both Sal and her bring a great deal of expertise, and she's president and CEO of eLuminosity. For CSU Pueblo, our team, part of our leadership team is John Williamson and Derek Lopez. John Williamson is a PhD grant coordinator. He's the executive director of research development initiatives and compliance. And Derek Lopez, who's also here in the audience, he's a grant administrator and also associate vice president of operations and advancement at the university. Okay, so what is it that we were trying to do with this, or the broad 30,000 foot view? And that is the internet access issue in cities like Pueblo. There is a digital divide, there is a digital inequity, sometimes a digital haves and have-nots. So what we're trying to do is address that problem. And there are a number of things that come up with that problem. For instance, there's a great need to make equitable connectivity, adoption, and trust of the internet a meaningful reality, especially for certain economically challenged neighborhoods. Many Pueblo households in certain neighborhoods don't have access to the internet. It's either due to lack of money or lack of digital literacy or a trust or adoption kind of issue. Some households don't even have a computer device to access the internet. Even when there is some internet access, maybe a computer, even some familiarity, digital literacy, many households either do not have more than one computer, or if they do, their access to a strong internet bandwidth is deficient and it can't really support more than one computer. During COVID-19, this was really revealed and exacerbated. Many children either did not or could not attend school, or if they did, they, a single mom might have left them at a McDonald's or the public library parking lot, and then they would try to get access that way to attend some of their classes. We looked at, or the first part, year one, we have 19 census tract areas, which are laid out here. They're largely in the Bessemer, West Side, and East Side area. But a key determinant, and we'll talk about these statistics in a moment, is that many households they either don't have the internet, they don't have a computer device, and the poverty rate is pretty high. So let's look at those statistics a little more closely. The poverty rate in the areas that we are trying to focus on is 33.74. That's that are below the poverty rate, when nationally that's 13%. For Pueblo in general, it's 17.9%. 28.64 of them don't have internet connection. 20% of these don't have a computer or a smartphone or a tablet. So a lot of people just assume that many people are connected to the internet, but that's not the case. Also, part of the digital divide issue is when you look at socioeconomic class. According to our 220 census, 49.5% of the population in the city of Pueblo is Hispanic or Latino, which represents a large unserved and underserved area. 70.2% of the students in school district 60 are Hispanic Latino, which serves the city of Pueblo, and 79.92 of those students are on free or reduced lunch. Of course, District 60 and our concern at CSU Pueblo with education everywhere, but we want to make sure that we have a pipeline of those students that are coming into the university. But the bottom line, all of this, and Pew Research has established this, that if you have poor connectivity, that's just going to relate to poor school performance, and that exacerbates some of the learning gap issue that we have. So part of the solution was to go after this $3 million federal grant, and we got that award. So a lot of the things that we want to do with that is generally provide digital equity, resilience, momentum in Pueblo. And a large thing is it's not just the money is going to CSU Pueblo. CSU Pueblo is the conduit, but a lot of that money is going to be used by accessing the expertise and engaging with a lot of individuals in Pueblo, organizations, and community groups. So the idea is to promote that digital equity and inclusion by including Pueblo students, their families, organizations, to make sure they get on-demand tech support and relevant information to secure their access. What this means is we have to have digital learning. Sometimes when we think about our economy, you look at last century and you look at utilities, electricity, plumbing. Well, that's what having access to the internet is meaning in our century and in the future. Digital literacy is very important too. If you look at just reading literacy and you say, let's get a library, let's get some books. But what good is that if people don't have the reading literacy to take advantage of that? So part of getting access is not just getting the general access, but it's also, there's a huge education aspect of getting access to people. We're going to provide IT type support from 7 digital navigators and free digital learning modules. There are online learning modules where people can access them anytime. It'll walk them through how to register to vote, how to go to get their driver's license, how to go through a health, how to do online banking, and also educate about that. A lot of people will say, I don't want to go on and do online banking. They'll steal all my money. So part of it is just getting that trust and education as well. One of the things, though, that we really want to focus on is, and I had mentioned this before, ensuring students, their families, and organizations get that online or on-demand tech support and relevant information so that they can do that. So it's more than just getting wires or whatever to the homes. Also, 200 households, and we, to the extent this is a pilot project, but in the future, we want to do even more, but at least 200 households, student households within these communities will receive laptop devices and some subsidized internet service for their households supplied by the grant. We also know that many of the providers are stepping up on their own to try and do things. They're not related to the grant, but we know that there are a lot of good things that are happening in the community as well. We also will have 4 community anchor locations that'll be that have been identified, and it'll provide space for digital learning, and 7 digital navigators will be staffed and available. Some of these might be CSU Pueblo IT students or other individuals with expertise. All right, so now I want to hand it over to Denise, and she's with Co-Create, and they're going to talk a little bit not only about our partnership, but the partnerships that they've been creating and have been doing work since 2018. And it will serve as a nice segue to future possibilities as well.
Well, I know you've seen me before, so thank you for having me back. We're pretty excited about this grant in particular. We're one of only 93 grants in the country, the only Connecting Minority Communities grant in Colorado. So that's a pretty good feather in Pueblo's cap. There were requests for over $800 million in applications, and there's only about 265 million in the Connecting Minority Communities pilot program funding. So it was pretty competitive, and we're hopeful that they will look at what we're doing and move forward with that and maybe make it more than just a pilot. So there's lots of really interesting, neat things happening. This is one of the pieces that Co-Create has identified, this one, as through the national connections, the national, these are the national kinds of connections that we have working with the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, the NTIA, the Federal Communications Commission. So we focused this grant it's a federal kind of approach. We also have a lot of connections that we work with the Colorado Broadband Office, and we've applied for Pueblo Ahora, which is also been funded for the Affordable Connectivity Program, and that is coming through the city. And I don't know that we've heard a whole lot about it just yet, but we do know that we were awarded that through the FCC. So that's a pretty important piece as well. And we have also been contacted by the Office of Future Work. We've submitted a grant there to do surveys and to understand our community and to understand why the 30% and the numbers that we saw, why do we not have connectivity there? What is it that's specific to our community, to Pueblo, that we need to address? So we make sure that we can address the right pieces. So that should be a grant that we think we'll get soon. We've also been contacted by the Colorado Economic Development Office to consider and talk about some opportunities that they have coming. We haven't had that meeting yet, but they approached us. So this is kind of, as we open the door, we have access to some more grants and funding to find more information and to bring more opportunities to the city. So we're pretty excited about those kinds of pieces. We've had significant political support from both Senators Hickenlooper and Bennett's office. See what I've got here. This talks about the grants that we just talked about. And I think I've got everything covered with a minute and a half to spare. So do you have questions?
Yeah, okay, thank you both. Any questions for Mr. Galvez or Mr. Schray? Counselor Martinez Ortega?
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you both for coming to present tonight on the broadband expansion grant. I have a question on the 4 community anchor locations. Do you have those identified? You said you have those identified, and where would they be?
We have 3 pretty solidly identified, and we have a 4th one that we're still working with the city to identify. The first one is the water tower. The second one is the Latino Chamber. The third one is
Del Sol. Oh, sorry. Quinto del Sol, the East Side Action will be the third. And then we're working
and then
on
the
that
fourth one, we're working with the city to identify that 4th site. But they're all in the areas of the census tracts, and we won't go outside that. It'll have to be in those.
Yeah, and how are you going to let folks know about these anchor locations?
So we have the last page that I didn't talk much about with Adelante Connect. we have a pretty strong marketing component, which sounds kind of like, why are you marketing for broadband? But what we've learned by studying other cities is that you can't post on the internet that you have an internet connection when the people you're working with don't have any internet. And so we have to let them know through a strong marketing campaign that may be billboards, it may be churches, it may be
Bus stops and
Yeah.
portable showers. maybe.
It's,
yeah,
it's word of mouth. though.
flyers. and
Yeah,
things like
so
that.
we have to adopt a different kind of strategy. And that's something that Salvador's really good at. And he was the first person that said, I know how to do this. This is what we have to do. It can't be internet surveys and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Counselor Flores?
As you know, Comcast is spending quite a bit of money too and expanding, you know, trying to touch the same, you know, I'm assuming that you'll be working cooperatively with them to try to access some of the benefits that they're trying to also instill in these areas that do not have access to internet. A lot of
Right.
times it's not the connectivity, it's really accessing or paying for the service. And I know that there's a lot of different programs where you guys can help. And can you elaborate on that?
Part of it is just the cooperation that we have. And again, they're not part of the grant, of course, but they too realize the digital divide, and it makes sense for them. You know, historically, a lot of the providers just said, well, we don't have a return on investment, so we're not going to go out there. A lot of them really worked to build out accessibility, but if the people don't have money, or certain people don't have money to do that, then there has to be more. We were thinking of the grant as probably subsidizing some of the providers, but to the extent that they're stepping up and lowering the cost, a lot of them have talked about free internet or internet for $10. And so, but in talking with them, they said, we can do that portion, but what you guys are doing that we aren't doing, which would be very helpful, is educating people and educating the people that are not getting access to the internet now. And if, you know, from their point of view, we're educating future customers to use that. So, I mean, it makes sense. There's a good moral reason to this, but there's also a good economic reason for them to do this as well.
So not only are we working with Comcast, and we talk to Gary all the time, we're working with CCOM and Highline, and we're making sure that all of them have an opportunity to work with us and be a part of this, so that no matter who makes that connection with a student or with that community anchor institution, that we have a really good support from all of the internet service providers in the city.
And did I understand that your grant also would be able to provide some hardware? Is that correct?
We'll
Yes, and computers. So we'll do that. 200 households will get some tablets and computer devices. So we have that now.
CSU students that don't have access now will get access. We'll work with internet service providers and we'll pay for that access. We'll give them a device. We'll work with their household, their families, and the students themselves in their houses, because we know that when they go home at night to do homework, if you don't know how to do all that at home, we need to have that kind of support, and we need to support the family that's there. But the cool thing about this grant is it wasn't only for CSU students, it's for CSU students and the community and the businesses in those communities. So the Latino Chamber will work with businesses that might want to learn more about how to leverage internet access and what they can do with it, services they might not have had access to before, and other households within the community at those community anchor sites can be a part of it. And so it's something that the whole city can benefit from.
Yeah, and those community anchor sites have classrooms that they're dedicating so that people can physically come in there and do that. But again, another aspect we're doing is online learning modules, which can be accessed anytime by anyone and really anywhere in the United States if they want to look at it, but it'll be associated with Pueblo.
Thank you for the presentation and congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
letting us have the opportunity to apply for it.
Thank you.
Counselor Maestri.
So let's clarify something for me. Your grant doesn't cover anything in regards to infrastructure or bringing more infrastructure, fiber optics into areas of the city that don't currently possess that.
Right.
Yours
Well,
is
the-
only just to educate people on how to use internet, their tablets.
The part of the grant was
Acquire the service.
we're not allowed to spend it on infrastructure. So part of this grant said we couldn't do that part. However, there are providers that we may get them to provide. Now, if they make an economic decision to provide infrastructure, which we're hoping that they do, then it gets at that infrastructure issue because they have the economic incentive to
Because what are
do
you
it.
going to do if you don't have the fiber optic support in those areas
Correct.
in order to do this? I mean,
So we are working with with the providers that we just talked about and any others that are interested to say we will have 200 households that we will pay for this for 2 years. And we will run an RFP process to see who will help us make those connections.
Mhm.
Once they make connections for those 200 students in areas where there is an infrastructure now, that should bring infrastructure and make it available for other households and community members within those households. So it's not a direct way, it's an indirect way, and that's the way the grant required it.
Mhm.
So we have to
So,
work with our
is that your
providers.
target, 200 households, like 200 households to provide internet education, connectivity, and hardware for?
It's 200 households that have CSU students in them and
Mhm.
all of the community members that want to participate and all of the businesses within those communities.
So it's
pretty
just
broad.
It's bigger than just 200.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
When did you apply for this grant?
December,
2021.
yeah.
2021?
Yeah, so it's been a year, and when I first started, it was,
15 months.
it was like 3 weeks of when I first started, of about a year and a half ago, actually, when we started thinking about it. So it took a long time. They were supposed to announce this in March of last year.
Mhm.
So we had just found out about, it. So it's been late, and they've, but it's because it's so competitive and so many grants have come through, so.
Counselor Tencio.
Yeah, the problem with that $10 internet from Xfinity is that it's the lowest
Right.
broadband that you could possibly have. So like you said, maybe one device might be able to do some work on it. Is there?
Our
ways-
goal is to be able to at least our goal is at least 100 meg
Yeah.
per household.
Okay.
And our hope
Does
is
that
that
mean
it might be even bigger.
subsidizing whatever's left? Because 100 megs is probably more than $10.
Significantly.
$30
Yeah, it's priced into the grant and I believe we'll be able to be competitive at that, especially if we run an RFP process and work with our
The duration
providers.
of the project is 2 years?
It's a 2-year, and it's a pilot program too. So a lot of it is just to show them we can be successful, and to the extent we're successful, then we could go back for
Is it,
additional grant
Your
funding.
objective that first generation that you're going to be teaching will teach the next generation, their younger brothers, the younger sisters? Yeah?
Yep. Yes.
That's what I can see.
Yes,
in
we
terms
hope
of
that it'll move forward and we have
progression
a,
of this thing. Because if the money runs out in 2 years, all these people are going to get stuck with the Xfinity bill, and Xfinity don't care. All they
We-
want is their money.
it's a pilot. We're hoping that we can find additional funding somewhere or we can show, we have a very large evaluation component so that we will be able to provide you with hopefully data on our success, which we believe will happen. And that will help us understand how to make this sustainable and how to move it forward with others in the households and communities. Yes.
Well, that's my hope. Is
Yes.
that exactly what happens. Okay, thank you.
Counselor Winter.
As you know, there are Wi-Fi benefits through SNAP. I mean, do you have that number? How many families that are on a SNAP program are now currently taking advantage of the Wi-Fi, the free Wi-Fi?
About in Pueblo, about 30% of the eligible households for the Affordable Connectivity Program are signed up. The last time I checked, which is about 6 or 8 weeks ago. And we have just received a grant to provide digital navigators through the city to help sign them up from the FCC. So the ACP program that will provide a $30 stipend to each household that is qualified is coming. It just was awarded a couple weeks ago, so we haven't. We'll present on that when we have it a little bit more figured out. But we did get awarded to do that, and we're pretty excited because that combined with this, we're starting to get a pretty good strategic, well-defined program that isn't just one piece.
Part of the strategy behind the whole grant that they have with infrastructure is they realize it takes, tens of millions of dollars to do that, but they can't just go and give all of that. So part of it is just to do pilot programs, see who's successful, and also just start the snowball rolling. And then as it gets momentum, as providers learn what we're doing and we communicate with one another and do our marketing, then we can build it out. So that's part of the strategy too. They want to get the biggest bang for their buck. And instead of just throwing, and there's a lot of money to throw around, but instead of throwing it all there, they want to do pilot projects to see who knows what they're doing and can they be successful. And then if we are, then hopefully we'll get more grant funding in the
Programs
future.
are good for universities. What percentage of that 30% are folks over 80? I mean, I can't imagine the first generation now teaching the second generation. I would think it would be more elderly folks that are not have access or even have any interest of having it.
There is the elderly, the senior, seniors are a identified category of people in that not connected.
You know what
piece.
percentages?
I don't
About
have that, but I
30%
can look and see if
I
I
would
can
guess that
find
would
it.
be a really high percentage.
That's a significant one. And we've had some conversations. We participate at the state level with the Office of Future Work, who oversees, there's 2 additional grants that will be coming out over the course of the next 18 months that allows us to target some of those hard to reach populations, of which that's one of them.
Yeah. I would wonder if they would even have any interest at all anyway.
They do. I've worked with some of them. The key to my mother, who's 89, was seeing her great grandchildren's pictures on Facebook. That's the only way we could get her to do it.
Okay.
Counselor Maestri and then Counselor Tencio.
Denise, you guys never mentioned that you had this grant in the works when you guys came and asked for the $100,000 through Co-Create. And so if you guys applied for it prior to, what are you guys bringing to the table? What is Co-Create? What are they bringing to the table with the grant that we gave you to go out and to research it, to bring additional funding in for internet services and so forth?
Well, we've done the FCC grant, and we submitted it, wrote it, submitted it, and been
Mhm.
awarded. We've
How much were you awarded?
300. We've wrote and submitted the grant to the Office of Future Work. And that'll be for it's not very big, but 50,000.
You haven't been awarded it yet.
Yeah, we were waiting.
So the one, you've got
Yeah.
300,000.
This grant, we could not have run through the city as the prime applicant,
Mhm,
but we did run it as a partnership with the city
mhm.
so that the city could be a part of it and could benefit from it. And we wrote it with a community component
Mhm.
when some of the other 93 programs wrote it only to benefit a university.
Mhm.
So we've done quite a bit of like that. We are also working with the Colorado Broadband Office to bring other opportunities for infrastructure and for digital, additional digital literacy, because we only have a certain targeted number of census blocks that we've identified, and it's a very limited number of students that we're working with specifically. So there's a whole lot more work to be done, and we've been working on that quite a bit. We just have to take the grants as they come, and we have to make them all work with when a program says your applicant has to be a higher ed Hispanic speaking institution as an applicant, that's who we have to apply with. And we have a great partner, and I think that's awesome. So I think that bringing those partnerships together are really important. The whole key behind the Internet for All from the Biden administration is that there be partnerships. So the more that we all work together, the more opportunities we're going to have, and the more well-rounded broadband plan you're going to have for the city.
How long is the 100,000? Is it just for this year, or what's the term of that contract? Do you remember?
I haven't seen a term yet because the FCC's announced but hasn't sent us that information.
No, I'm talking about our contract with you. When does the 100,000 run out?
I can't give you a specific date. I'm going to refer to. Councilor Maestri, I believe the contract was not time sensitive. It was $100,000 limit sensitive. So as the budget was expended down to zero, the contract will expire.
Where are we at with it?
When they last reported a few weeks ago, we were at 21,000, and I know there's been a current invoice that's been submitted in the month of March, which has been paid and will be reduced. The balance will be reduced by that amount.
Thank you.
Yeah, real quick, your navigators, they're going to help people navigate a portable connectivity program, because that's tough. I helped a couple try to get on.
It is
And
tough.
They
Yeah.
got approved. The problem was that we put the gentleman's name in, and the account at Xfinity was under the wife's name, so it just fell apart. Now we got to do it all over again. But it is real, what they're asking for is almost ridiculous.
We've provided a number of feedback
Yeah.
opportunities
It's tough.
with a number of the organizations that we work with, like Shelby and the National Digital Inclusion Alliance. We're hoping that they will review that and come up with a little bit easier opportunity. There is a new website with Education Superhighway to help you work through that. There will be navigators working with the city program that we just talked about, the FCC one, to help also. So we're working on getting more and more resources. 60% of the people nationwide that fill out that ACP application don't finish it the first time.
They
It's
don't, I'm
very
sure.
difficult.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Counselor Forrest.
I don't have a question, but I think it's important again to differentiate between the connectivity and accessibility. 92% of Pueblo is connected, is able to connect right now. So we have a 92% rate of connectivity. The issue here is accessibility and being able to pay in certain areas because it's too expensive. And, but I think we need to clarify that. And then, you know, we do need, I know that Comcast is going to be providing a higher speed now. And that obviously is important, but, and then we've got other providers that are actually bearing cable now. So I just wanted to clarify those two words because they're confusing.
And you are correct. We know that the survey application that we've put in, it will be we'll be able to have some pretty solid data. And that survey is coming from the Office of Future Work at the state level, and they will use that for their broadband planning to ask for the BEAD money, which is a significant pot of money for next year. And so we'll be able to leverage our data with the state, which will make it better for you to apply for things.
and Councillor Flores, just to add to that, that not only is it, it's the accessibility, just the physical, and then what you identified, the money to do that, but also there's the decision by the people to adopt it, and then also building the trust or getting rid of the mistrust. So those all are part of the educational.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Shori and Mr. Galvez. And our last presenter tonight is the fire department on the $3.5 million capital improvement project.
Good evening, Madam President, members of council. Thank you for your time tonight. And I've got quite a few people with me this evening to go through this. Where do I? First of all, I wanted to say thank you to the community, council members, and the mayor for your support. None of this would be possible without it. Through the preparing for this presentation, we've been adding positions. We're going to talk about the new fire stations, what apparatus are on order for that, and some of the grants that we're working to try to help with the costs. Also online, this is Assistant Chief Bill Nemec. He's going to be talking when we get to the apparatus portion of it. He's been in charge of fleet for quite a few years now.
15 years.
So he's got this down to a science for us. And then online we have from Public Works, we have Chuck Roy, and we have from All Red Architects, we have Brad Burnett, and then our owner's representative, Gary Cahill. So they'll be coming in at different parts of this. So the things we're going to talk to you about this evening are the concept design that's finalized. Then we're going to do a 3D model for you. We'll talk a little bit about net zero and that cost, and then what the tentative schedule is. We can, after that, talk about the apparatus. Do you want to take questions before we get to the apparatus regarding the architect stuff, or do you want to do it all at one time? Okay. So this is a picture of the inside. It's kind of blurry, and we could probably have the architect pull up a clearer one, but the truck bays are on the right-hand side, and then the living spaces on the left. They include a community room, separate bedrooms, workout area, and the compartmentation we're looking for to make the fire station safer, which keeps everything positive pressure and keep the contaminants in the truck room side. This is the concept design of Fire Station 6. This is one view, and this is the other. And so now I'm going to introduce Brad to do the 3D flyover for you.
I'm Brad Bonnet with All Red and Associates. Chief, when I try to share the screen, it says I'm disabled. Can somebody allow me to?
You should be good to try to share again.
Okay. You should be able to see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is the example of the 3D imagery for Station 6. Some of the things that are coming into factor, working with staff to get us to this preliminary stage of the design, is obviously the function of the fire department and how they utilize the facility. Some of the architectural references to the area, and then obviously net zero. So as Chief has indicated, the apparatus bay, it's a 3-bay apparatus bay. You can see we have large overhangs for the facility that helps reduce the sun during the summer months, but allow the sun to be a positive factor during the winter months. The entrance to the facility is readily identifiable with the sidewalk systems or sort of plaza area. And then the glass walls located on the facility. As Chief mentioned, there's a community room off of this entrance so that participants are able to come into the facility, but yet it's still separated from the fire station living quarters side itself. You can see we have a lot of flat roofs. The benefits of the flat roofs are obviously the solar photovoltaic is utilized on the roof as part of the net zero process. And you can see through the shade device that we've presented that it does very well in knocking down that sun during the summer months. It also gives the firefighters the opportunity to have breakout spaces to the exterior. So off of the kitchen areas, they have a patio underneath here. And then off to the side where their fitness is, they also have another patio area that's removed from the public in a secured area to allow the firefighters to not only train inside the facility, but be able to open up the doors or the windows and do some exterior training on a concrete pavement area. As we come around to the side, you can see the fencing itself is helping to secure the facility. The firefighter bunk rooms are located to the rear, so it's off of the noisy streets or the intersections, allowing the firefighters to be removed from those noises. The parking lot itself for the firefighters is secured. It has covered parking. That covered parking assists with the photovoltaic of the facility. And then it also allows some charging stations within that area as well. As we continue around the facility, you can start to see the house side at the lower levels. When I say the house side, so bunk room, day room, kitchen, dining room are located on one side. And then we separate that from the apparatus bay side so that, as the chief indicated, the contaminants stay on the apparatus bay side and the contaminants do not travel into the house side where the firefighters are. We have screen walls located at the rear of the facility for emergency generator transformers, the electrical as it comes into the facility. As we come around to the bay side, you can see we've allowed some glass and some windows so that the public can see into the bays, give an identifier for the emergency vehicles themselves, identifier for the station. And then as we come around back to the front again, you'll see we have the apparatus bay identifiers with the vehicles behind, public parking at the front of the station. And so we're trying to make references. This is just schematic in nature, as we said, to Station 6, but we're going to look at materials for each of the 3 different stations as they relate to the community in which the station's placed in. Obviously, landscaping, low maintenance levels for the landscaping, and then net zero is a huge factor in this project in terms of we have a geothermal system that will be utilized, or a ground loop system for heating and cooling of not only the house side of the bays, but also for the apparatus bays. There'll be an in-floor heating system that will be utilized, which is extremely, has a great performance rating for the firefighters themselves. Chief?
Thank you, Brad.
I'll stop sharing.
Like Brad mentioned, we are going to do the net zero, and then that's just images of the ground, the thermal heating and cooling system. And so the approximate timeline right now is, we're currently done with the elevations. The design completion will be done about the 4th quarter of this year. We're looking to start construction in the first quarter of next year. And we're going to separate each station by about 6 weeks. So we'll start pouring concrete, finish that one, move to the next one. And it'll take approximately 1 year. Some of the ways we're, well, this is getting into the apparatus, so I'll go ahead and talk about that next. So we are looking at trying to get apparatus through grants, either through CDS or AFG. Both of those have been submitted, kind of hedging our bets to hopefully get at least one of those grants. We have a SAFER grant pending for 9 positions to open that new fire station. We applied for it last year and we did not get it. We were allocated $3.6 million in the capital improvements budget this year. The apparatus actually costs a little bit more than that, but we were able to pull some project money through creative thoughts from finance and found that money so that we could purchase all 3 of those vehicles, so that with the long lead times on those vehicles, the stations and the vehicles will be arriving about the same time. And the timelines are no less than 14 months for any single vehicle for delivery. Do you want to go through the vehicles?
Sure. This is the typical fire engine that you see running around town. This is in every fire station. This piece of apparatus has a pump on it, it has a tank on it, has the hose on it, and has 3 firefighters with the advanced life capability on each one of these. We are going to purchase one additional one of these with this $3.8 million, and it will be identical to this one here. This one will be a ladder truck. It'll be a 125-foot ladder truck, and it's approximately 20 feet longer than the ladder truck we have now. So it's going to give us the capability to reach our tallest buildings, to reach the roof, to reach victims, put firefighters on the roof, or the firefighters get in the building, they can't get out and they have to go to the roof. We can rescue them down this ladder. And this will be a huge addition because of the extended length of the ladder. Now, this particular vehicle, this is what they call a platform ladder truck, platform aerial. And they have that little bucket on the end of the ladder, and it's about 20 square feet. So you can put about 4 firefighters in there or 4 people in there. And this makes it much easier to rescue people because we pull the people in. They don't have to go down the ladder, especially elderly or handicapped people. And what's really unique about this particular platform is the last 8 feet of the ladder is hinged, so it articulates. And what makes this so special is we can lower the platform real close to the truck, as we see right there. We can let people off at ground level. So we can go up to like the 7th or 8th floor, pull people off their balconies or out of their windows. Even if they're not very mobile, we can lower them down real close to the truck, and we can lower them out on ground level. Without that hinged part, it would take a lot more real estate for us to get that bucket to the ground. And the real estate's really at a premium at a fire ground situation. One other thing about that particular platform, I've been on numerous instances where we've had a car in the Bessemer ditch with people trapped in it. And with our current ladder truck, we have to extend the ladder over, then we have to rappel a firefighter off the ladder to get to them. With this piece of apparatus, we can just extend it over the Bessemer ditch and lower that bucket right down to them to the water level. And it's just so much quicker, because there's so many more options.
And that's the presentation. So we'll take away any questions.
Any questions? No. Counselor Maestri?
I'm excited.
I am too.
And this is just conceptual. The plans have not been finalized yet.
Not yet.
How much longer for that, Barb?
We're hoping probably around September. July, we're going to have a pretty good idea, but I'm going to let the architects speak more specifically on that.
No, that's a fair statement, Chief. You're right on track.
And then also, since we have the architect on the line, what's his proposed cost to construct?
Well, we actually are using Dunakilly as the owner's rep, and they're providing the preliminary construction cost as we proceed through each phase of design. So maybe Gary can speak more to that.
Yeah, this is Gary Cahill. Thank you. We're looking at right now 35 million for both of them. We did some very early concept estimating that we presented a while back. Well, I'll let Chuck Let
all
Chuck
three of
jump
them,
in.
for all three of them,
All
not
three.
both of them.
Yep, correct. So it's 35 million for all three. We did some conceptual estimating, and we actually have some other fire stations that we're pricing out. So here in the next 30 days, we'll have a really good idea where our costs are. Since obviously in this construction industry that we've been living the last year, it's been really hard to get numbers. So we'll fine tune those here in the next 30, 60 days.
Yeah, where are we getting it? What's the plan, Mayor? Where are we getting it? Where are we getting the 35 million? Because this is exciting. These plans are gonna get done. Once they're done, they're only good for so long. So what's your plan to bring the money to the
In
table?
August, we're going to have the Municipal Justice Center paid off. So our plan is to enter into lease purchase agreements and maintain the same payments that we've been making on the Municipal Justice Center and borrow the money to build these stations. So the net effect is it'll have zero impact on our budget because we'll just keep making the same payments that we've been making since we constructed the new Municipal Justice Center. We haven't gone out for RFPs at this point because we're waiting to get firmer costs.
Mhm.
We've had some discussions with Wells Fargo and they've made us a proposal that really wasn't acceptable to us. So we're going to go out for RFPs as we get a little firmer handle on the costs and know exactly what we need to get this done.
Great.
Any other, Councilor Martinez?
Yeah, thanks, Chief. Where are 6, 8, and 11?
Station 6 is at 4th and Victoria, or Victory, sorry. Station 8 is going to be at the Jerry Murphy about diagonally from Candy Tuft. And then Station 11 is a new station that doesn't exist. It's going to be at 24th and Perry.
So for the stations that are 6 and 8 that we already have, what are we going to do with the old buildings?
We're probably going to keep Station 8. The office is in there and we got other apparatus that we can use and run out of there if we need to. Station 6 is probably a conversation for the future, maybe with urban renewal or something. Station 1 eventually is going to go to another department because they need that kind of space to work on vehicles.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much. Oh, wait, we do have. one. Just
Which one is the East Side Station?
6.
6.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, everybody. That concludes our work session tonight, and we will pick up with our regular meeting in 10 minutes. I conclude this work session.